Welcome to the Real Talk Real Estate Podcast PDX. Our mission is to give real value to home buyers and sellers, shed light on the home buying and selling process, and give insight about the market and suburbs of Portland, Oregon. I'm your host, Dylan Thomas, licensed principal broker with HomeSmart Realty Group. Although this podcast is centered around home buyers and sellers, Real Talk Real Estate is for anyone looking for home tips and market updates in the Portland metro area. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Real Talk Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Thomas, licensed principal broker with HomeSmart Realty Group. Today I have John Shaffer in here with Envision Inc. I'll edit that.
Yeah, Envision Inc. It's a little difficult to pronounce because it's spelled weird, NVZN. But yeah, I'm here today and I'm excited to be on the show with you.
Yeah, John used to be in lending, and we used to get together about once a month, right?
Yep.
And just kind of talk about different ways we could. Mainly it was marketing strategy, but we would talk a lot about different ways we could educate buyers and sellers. There's not enough education, and going on to Google doesn't always answer all of your questions, or you may get some bad answers on Zillow or any other kind of source that you can find online. So he's the one who ultimately kind of gave me this idea and gave me the push to actually start the podcast. He's in the media industry now, and we've had the chance to work together on a couple videos, and it's been great. The feedback, that's kind of the direction that everybody's going, is to YouTube, to social media.
Mm-hmm.
Podcasting is huge now. I mean, 5-6 years ago, podcasting was nothing.
Yeah, it's like I would say it's like the new radio.
Yeah.
It gives people the opportunity to have their own voice.
Just like, YouTube's the new TV.
YouTube's the new TV. Podcast is the new radio. Facebook is kind of like just the platform that everyone's on.
Yeah.
Facebook has the attention of everyone. It's very similar to how like TV marketing was huge, commercials, emails, direct mailers, and now it's just changing to YouTube, podcasting, and social media and brand awareness.
Yeah. I feel like Instagram is even bigger than Facebook. Facebook's good for, everybody's on Facebook.
Yeah.
My grandma's on Facebook. But as far as like just getting on and quickly connecting with people, I feel like Instagram is better with that. You see everybody's everyday life.
Mm-hmm. I think it's Instagram right now because it's owned by Facebook. So Facebook has the attention of it, but Instagram is kind of the place to show off your work. Yeah. I always call it the gateway drug to your brand. It gets people through the door and ultimately to you.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like a lot of my stuff, I post to Instagram, and I really don't post to Facebook too much anymore. Especially like my personal page, it's pretty
personal.
Yeah,
that's what I've always fought. I'm a big Facebook person, but I do hate the fact that you have to make a business page. You can't I'd rather have my personal page.
Yeah.
Have the capabilities of a business page. Just because we've talked before, just being yourself and just live your truth online. Yeah. And no matter in real estate and everything else, because you want to be relatable to everyone.
Oh, for sure.
And I think there's a huge opportunity for the ones that are able to do that.
Yeah, like, so my Instagram is a business page for Insta, but it's mainly like personal stuff. Like I do a lot of business posts on there, but it's mainly personal, and I don't see anything wrong with, like, I know several people, a lot of people have their separate business Instagram and their personal Instagram, and it's good for maybe some industries, and it's good, for the people who are consistent on both, maybe.
Yeah.
But my primary source of business is my sphere.
Yeah.
My friends, my family, and then their friends and family. So I'd rather just stay in touch on a personal level.
Yeah.
And throw in some business stuff so they remember.
Yeah.
You know?
And it allows you to just, as crazy as it sounds, but trying to manage 2 different, quote unquote, different Instagrams.
Plus your Facebook business. And,
it's annoying because it's hard to post on both because of the fact that you think too much about, is this right for my business page? Is this right for my personal page, right, etc. But like, no, just post it on one, because we were talking earlier, like nobody's gonna know what you do unless you tell them what you do.
You had 2 different ones.
Yeah, I do have 2 right now, and I haven't posted on the Envision Inc. one.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything in a while.
In forever.
Yeah,
it's been more of like I want to once the studio part of the business gets going, but as of right now, it's just been more of I guess word of mouth.
Yeah,
and referral.
Yeah, and you're killing it.
Trying, getting there.
Yeah,
but it's been a fun ride. I mean, I've been doing it less than a year now. Had no idea what I was doing getting into it. Just literally quit my job and started knocking down walls.
I know. We were just starting to work with one client. Was that last December?
Mm-hmm.
And then
pre-qualified
everything, and then they ended up kind of
ghosting,
backing out. Decided to wait a while, which is fine. And like a month or 2 later, I think you text me and you were like, "Hey man, working on some big stuff. We're going to be able to, really
work together,
yeah, and be more of a team rather than I send you stuff and you send me stuff."
Yeah, that's what I kind of like felt like being. You brought up the first time we met, and I was at I think the Pepper Mill. I hate feeling like a salesman. Like I don't want to convince someone to work with me.
Yeah.
It's just not in my blood, I guess, to be like that. So when I started this business and I'm like, oh man, like now I can really like actually be of value instead of just saying like I have value because I have these loan programs. I can truly now provide value.
Right.
In a way, I think that's a lot different than a lot of realtors currently are thinking when it comes to their social media.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the exciting part.
Yeah. I like what I do. I don't think I'm a salesman.
Yeah.
Per se. I mean, I do have to sell, but I really enjoy helping people in the process, and I think that's a totally different aspect than on the lending side. Mm-hmm. On the lending side, it's all numbers, and I feel like at the end of the day, most people, as long as you get the loan done, there's not a whole lot of personal connection there.
Yeah.
You're not the one who's out showing them houses, building that relationship. I mean, you may meet them once or twice and go down that route, but there's not a whole lot of personal connection.
No,
where on my end, I get to interact with them all the time, and it's awesome to get to know people. At the same time, it's kind of weird though. After the sale closes and you're not seeing them every weekend or
texting them
2-3 times a week, texting them all the time.
All of a sudden they're gone.
Yeah, it's super weird.
That's one thing I struggled with in the loan industry is because of the fact that like I talk to these people, I feel like I'm doing a great job. But yeah, like you said, there is not a lot of personal because the keys day, that's a realtor thing. Closing the home, everything is most with the realtor, and the lender is more of the unsung hero, I guess I would say. That's quite correlated. The realtor is the unsung hero that gets the money done, but there's no party for you.
Yeah, there's no party.
There isn't, which is what going into it.
Yeah.
Which I didn't really know, but I know now, which is fine. But it allowed me to look at different like perspectives of realtors as well, like things that you guys have to go through.
Yeah.
Because you guys, I feel like, have to take a lot of heat when things go wrong.
Oh yeah.
And that's where I was.
And when lenders mess up their job, we take heat too.
Exactly. That's where
we get it all.
That's where my perspective was totally changed. When I had some bad ones because I was just so young in the industry, realizing like, okay, the realtor is harping on me so hard because his clients are harping on him, or vice versa. It's
definitely, kind of we're the first in line.
Mm-hmm. You're the quarterback, but you're also going to get the blame if you lose the game
you
too.
You get the blame and the praise.
Yeah.
So
that's something I think the people in the industry really need to take into account a lot, because the lending world is very old.
Yeah.
And so I think the appreciation, I gained a lot of more appreciation once I started to understand the perspective of a realtor.
Yeah.
And what you guys actually have to do day in, day out.
It's fun though.
It is.
I really enjoy it. And, at the end of the day, it gives me time with my kids, time with my family. And then hopefully one day when I'm just crushing it, my wife can do what she really wants to do and work part-time or just completely change fields. I don't know. That's my goal.
Yeah.
At the end of the day is to provide as much opportunity for my kids and also for my wife.
Yeah.
And that's why I do this. Because there's really not a cap, there's no cap.
There isn't.
To this.
It's your hustle and how much you want to go after.
Exactly.
Really
I want my family to do whatever they want to do. And I do really enjoy what I do. So, but yeah, back to the podcast. So back to what we had talked about for so many years and just the lack of education. In schools, they don't teach anything about buying a house. They don't teach about credit. They don't teach about money. Loans.
Yeah.
Nothing money wise. I think I take that back. I took a class in middle school. It was a stock trading class, which was awesome. Wow. It was totally random.
Yeah. I would say that's random.
Totally random. It was at Five Oaks. I can't remember the teacher's name, but he was just a total tech guy. And we got a full, what do they do, quarters back then? Or yeah.
Quarters?
Yeah, I think middle school's quarters. Got a full quarter of doing stock trading.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And like actually learning it?
Actually learning it, yeah. It was super cool.
I've always wanted to get into that whole thing, but like, I think it is important. The fact that you even took something like that young is cool, but it's also like why wasn't that taught?
Yeah.
Later on.
Why retirement's not taught? Why are,
It's a big question, and I wonder, I don't know why. We've talked before, is like the thing is value is not provided as far as like things in nature of buying a home, finances, credit, and all of that. Those are the things that we figure out.
Yeah.
In life.
And you need somebody to teach you.
Yeah. Or a resource that you trust.
You can get online and you can read all kinds of stuff, and there's a good amount of information online about buying a house. But what you don't learn online is what local programs you have. Advantages to first-time home buyers or different professions. There's certain professions that you can buy a house for basically half the cost.
What?
Yeah.
Like a profession that would like pay for it in a way?
It's a government-backed program. So if you're a cop, a firefighter,
or a veteran maybe,
EMT, or a teacher. So those four things.
Yeah.
If you're one of those four things, you can qualify for a government-backed program where you buy the house and you actually, your primary loan will be for half the appraised value. You have a silent second that you do not pay anything towards. So you're paying towards half the value.
Yeah.
If you live there for 3 years, that silent second, boom, gone.
That's unreal.
Isn't it?
That's unreal, because that means your payments are based off of the principal loan amount, which is half of whatever the thing was.
So your payment's half, and then at the end of 3 years, it's gone.
Yeah.
So you get the house for half the cost.
And the silent second disappears?
It disappears.
And for people that don't know what a silent second is, it's like a I would say a lien on a home.
Yeah, it's a lien.
It's a lien on the house.
So it's a second mortgage
that you don't pay on.
You don't pay on it. And then at the end of 3 years, it just goes away. Isn't that crazy? 36 payments you got to make, and it's gone.
That should be...
then you can sell the house.
Yeah. That's a pretty good program. We should figure out the name of that program.
I know the name of the program.
Well, I need to learn more because I'm getting back in the broker business. So
yeah, that's right.
Figure that out.
Yeah. It's a Good Neighbor program with HUD. Yeah, so, and you need a HUD real estate agent, which I am one, to run the program. Any lender can do it.
Okay.
So, yeah, any lender can get into the program, but you have to use a real estate agent who's registered with the HUD in order to make the bids on the house. Now, there's not a whole lot of houses available for this program, so that's the tricky part.
They got to be HUD.
But if you're patient, you're gonna get 50% off the house. But that's my goal with this podcast, is to educate buyers and sellers about the different options out there, about stuff that they would never think about, right?
Yeah.
I plan on getting lenders on here, appraiser, insurance, financial advisors, talk about, different stuff, CPAs, talk about tax breaks that you get. I know when I bought my first house, I went from owing money every year to a nice chunk of change back on taxes. See,
that's stuff people don't know about.
Yeah.
Nobody, because that's when you talk about the value and the things you want to bring as far as the loan programs and whatnot. And the sheer ability to qualify for a home loan, I think is very skewed because we can get a credit card in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Go online. Credit card, got it. And anything else, student loans, same way. When I went to college, I got $20,000 student loan, and all I had to do was sign some papers online, and that was it. So when it comes to a home loan, people don't really get, it's not that they don't get, they're kind of shocked by how much it really takes to qualify.
Yeah.
For that home loan.
And there's a reason for that.
Yes. Thankfully, I wish all loans.
0809.
Yeah, all loans should be taken with caution, like home loans are now.
Auto loans should be.
I heard I haven't really been. I've heard that auto loans, it's just like how it used to be, subprime.
Yeah, basically, you can walk in and you can say, "Oh, I make $200,000. Oh, okay, here you can buy this car."
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you think they're doing you a favor, but we don't understand what 16% interest really means.
Yeah.
And all of that, which is another thing I think is going to be exciting for this podcast, is that when it goes on to the just delivering consistent value over time and things like that, it's going to be, I think you're going to make more of an impact than maybe you realize. Because I know all this information is something everyone wants to know, but one, either lazy to go seek it, or two, it's hard to understand. And it's hard to understand it from even a lender or a realtor without thinking it's going to be they're trying to get something out of me.
Right.
But the fact that you're just going to provide this stuff for people's own worth.
Yeah.
That's going to.
Well, and the way I kind of envision it is it's going to be, I've always wanted to do a first time home buyer class and go out and, get a classroom of people together and teach them about the home buying process, have a lender there, teach them about the lending side. But you got to shrink that down into 1 hour, 1.5 hours to keep people's attention. Where really, each little aspect you can
do a class on.
You can, do a whole class on each. Okay. So what's in the offer? What steps are you promising to take in this contract that you're writing? Sure, you can read it when you get to that point, but it'd be nice to sit down and talk about it before you ever get to that point.
Yeah.
And that's my goal, is because I don't have the time to sit down with it. I do first time home buyer consultations. I typically like to sit down with them for about an hour, kind of go over the general process up front, whether it's at the first house we look at or at my office or at a Starbucks. That's what I do.
Yeah.
But that's not even enough time.
It's not. It's because I feel like even during that, to go over everything, it's impossible. And
then just to go over the lending side as well. I can't go over a lot of that.
Yeah.
I can't answer rate questions, and I'm not a lender.
Yeah.
I know enough to educate, but when I say, go talk to so-and-so and get pre-approved, that's usually a phone conversation. It's not always meeting up in person. And so they don't get the full picture on that end either.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's hard to, like, I know when I would make it, I'd make it a point to try and meet up with them in person, just because people understand things so much better in person. And they can, what's it called? They can
retain it too.
Retain it, ask those questions that they may not think of in person. But even then, it's not fully comprehended. And that's why it's got to be a forefront, I think, for the people in this profession, is just to start teaching everyone.
Yeah.
Because it will help so many people. And it'll make your jobs easier. Because people have better, what's it called? Responsibility with their monies. They'll understand that, okay, I can't quit my job because I want to buy a house next year and you got to have 2 years of employment.
Right.
They're like, oh, I didn't think about that. Or for me, example, I can't buy a house for another year and a half or 2 years by the guidelines.
Yeah. So that's something that I've learned as well. So if you go from being self-employed to W-9 employee, that's okay. But you can't go the opposite way. So if you go from W-9 to being self-employed, and then you're going to have to get 2 years under your belt. But yeah, the opposite way, you just got to show that you're making the same or more, and you're good to go.
Consistency, 2 years, tax returns.
Yeah, crazy thing I found out this year. So you're a college grad. You went to school for this type of employment. If you get a job in that field, you only need 1 year.
Or no years, potential earning income.
Years, sure.
So it's like doctors, lawyers, engineers. They
contract type of stuff.
Yeah, as long as there's an award letter written by your employer stating like the salary and how many years they plan on you being there, they will give you a house, a loan outside of college. Yeah. This is another thing I don't think a lot of college graduates know either.
No.
Which was something I was thinking of, because there are programs for medical students, for engineers, and like they have a bunch of debt. So what better way to start saving, quote unquote, saving or wanting to pay off your debt than getting into a home?
Right. And that's, definitely a lot of stuff to go over in this podcast. And I mean, the lending side, what happens in an appraisal?
Drive-by appraisal. I guess that used to be a thing. And the appraisals,
not anymore.
There's a lot of moving parts, I think. I think that's one thing people need to understand, is that the home buying is moving. There's a lot of moving parts. And there's a lot of people who are on the same team who aren't on the same team.
Right.
Really. They work for
you have your
lenders, your appraisers, your underwriters.
Your realtor, your underwriters, your escrow officers.
Listing agent, buying agent.
There's a lot of moving pieces.
And they probably don't know each other or know how each other communicate.
Right. And they all have to communicate to get this done.
Exactly. For someone they barely really know, unless it's like a family or something like that. So like people just, I think if they're more prepared that, okay, it's not going to always be a smooth sailing trip, that it's okay and that it will get done at the end of the day.
Right.
You will get a home. You will not be homeless. And that, I think that's what's huge, is that at the end of the day, I think everyone has the same goal and mindset.
They should.
Yeah, they should.
Not
for the most part. And if they don't, you make sure they do.
Get some lazy people in that, and then it starts causing some real issues.
It does. It really does. And I never really thought about that, how much communication really does need to happen.
Yeah.
In that industry.
Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth between all the parties. So
that's one thing I learned, that you need to communicate way more clear.
Kind of what makes it fun, though. And every single transaction is different.
Yeah.
No two are ever the same.
That is true. I mean, like, what, how's I guess your year so far?
It's been okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing stellar.
HomeSmart is, you just started with them though, right?
Yeah. So I was with a different company for my first 4 years. Switched over in May, I believe it was. So yeah, just switched in May. A lot of people were leaving my prior company, and a lot of people that I had really close relationships with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just decided to kind of hop on the bandwagon and get a fresh start. HomeSmart is small in the Portland area. They're a nationwide company. They're huge in certain areas of the country. They're huge in Salem. I think they're the biggest brokerage in Salem.
I think I've seen, actually, when I've been down there a few times.
But they're small here.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I don't think it makes a difference what company is backing you if you're a buyer or seller.
Because anybody could play for the Patriots, but doesn't mean you're Tom Brady.
Exactly. That's a great analogy. How'd I know you'd wrap football into this?
I always have football analogies.
But yeah, and then a lot of my clients are first time home buyers. So going back to the education standpoint, if I had known when I bought my first house that there were down payment assistance programs out there, because I had some money saved up, but I also knew about closing costs. I used a USDA loan, which is a rural kind of. I bought in Sherwood because that was USDA. I believe it still is. So I was able to put $0 down and then come in with some closing costs. Got the seller to cover some closing costs. But if I had known about one of the down payment assistance programs, I would have totally bought in Beaverton, Aloha, Tigard, and there's still options out there.
There's I remember when I don't know if it's still around, but the Oregon Bond had a rate advantage and a cash advantage.
Oregon Bond's still around.
I knew the rate back then was at like 3.25, and that was a huge deal, but now rates are at 3.25, given the criteria of the borrower. I just actually pulled up a scenario for my parents to do a refinance.
Yeah.
Pulling out $50,000 in their current loan, refinancing their current loan, pulling out $50K, they still would drop their payment by $800.
That's insane.
So pull out $50,000.
What's the rate at now?
Their current rate is a high fours. So I think it's 4.875, and they've been in this for like 11 to 12 years. Wow. So a simple refinance would honestly cash flow
and cash out.
And if they wanted to cash out, so like if it was just a rate and term, then they're dropping the payment over $1,000.
Wow.
Which is huge. And then like you said before, there's so many strategies and things you could do with money and cash flow, and it's a big stigma is I don't want to get stuck in a 30-year mortgage again.
Right.
I'm in a 30-year mortgage. Well, a lot of people aren't taught about like principal reducting.
Right. And that's, I'm going to talk about also investing. I mean, my first house, I would not have sold if I didn't need to be qualified for the next loan. Now, as long as you have a renter in there, you don't need 2 years history. You just need a lease contract, and you need the security deposit in your bank account. Yeah. And that's written off your debt to, or not 100% written off your debt to income.
I think 75%.
75 is most companies. Some other companies will go more. That's insane. So you can start with get your first house on a zero down program, live there for your year that you promise, or two, whatever it takes. You will need down payment for the next one because you can't do that again. But then you start that's your retirement portfolio.
Exactly.
Right? You're gaining appreciation. Someone else is paying your loan down. You're getting the tax benefits.
It seems like what's it called? No brainer. But it's hard for people to
to commit.
I mean, it's scary. They think it's scary, and it could be scary.
It'll be a 2-3 year commitment each time.
Yeah, but it's like 2-3 years.
That's nothing.
Once you're in your mid-30s, you could have a portfolio worth millions.
Yeah.
Easily.
As
long as you're just like patient with it. And another thing with the down payment on the next house, there was a strategy that I was taught. As long as the numbers work.
You could refi cash out that one.
Yeah. Refi cash out on the current, drop the payment still because the principal loan's going to be lower. And then just pull that out.
Yeah, that'll be a little bit more challenging once rates start going back up. But there's always a plethora of options to look at.
I think that's one thing. There's always options. But it's finding a lender that's like willing to really like show you I guess, the best scenario for you per se. And I think that my problem was the fact that I did take a lot of time on each person to show them all of these different ways they could do something. But that also takes a lot of time.
But that's good though. That's education, and that's what they need.
Yeah,
that's what everybody needs. I still learn about my job every day.
I don't think I heard something the other day. It's like you figure out how much you don't know.
Yeah.
Because how much you've learned so much.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can tell you, you learn something, not every transaction anymore, but you do up front. You definitely, the longer you're in it and the more houses you sell, the more you learn. Plain and simple.
Yeah. Just kind of going through
it's always problem solving type stuff, you know?
All those kinks you work out at the beginning, which now that you know what's going to happen if X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
I think I was at like that point where like I probably have gone through the trenches, but then I was like, I'm done with the trenches because I had to get out and get into something else that would actually help me do what like I want to do, which is help provide value in this industry, but in the way of helping you guys do it, I guess.
Yeah.
More or less.
No, and I'm super stoked to be working with you going forward, doing more videos, hopefully getting you back on here for more podcasts.
Yeah.
And just kind of see where it goes.
I'm excited.
I'm hoping that, you know, with the future podcasts, I got a lot lined up currently, and so I'm hoping this will be. I might just go ahead and start this weekend. Release this one and then just keep going with it and see where it goes. But yeah, a lot of education, a lot of insights, talking about the market too. I mean,
how was the market?
I've always, yeah. I can pull up,
market action report.
Yeah, pretty much. I was looking at this the other day. So third quarter numbers just came out, September numbers. We're definitely in this not a lull. We're just not gaining as much as we were for the past 4, 5, 6 years.
In appreciation.
We're still up a little bit as far as average sales price goes. The total market time is getting a little bit longer. Closed sales is we're still up a little bit. New listings is down. New listings coming on is down quite a bit. So it's still a good time to sell.
Yeah.
Because there's no competition. And it's still a seller's market based on the inventory and based on total market time, days on market.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still creeping up in price. But we're starting to see these lulls through the winter months. Which always happens. It has happened. I've looked at statistics back to 1992.
It's levels.
Every time through the winter months, we kind of, days on market goes up, price drops a little bit, your average sales price drops a little bit, and then it kind of rebounds. I mean, it's just like the stock market, right? So people want to try to time. I always hear people I want to time when I sell my house. Well, I can tell you that selling in the winter months, the buyers that are out there are serious, and there's less competition. There's less houses on the market.
Mm-hmm.
Less to choose from means that your house is likely to sell faster.
Yeah, your house is a bigger fish in a smaller
Especially
pond.
if it's not your remodeled, ready to go, top dollar house. Those are the houses that sell fast any time of year. Where's that? Oh, market. Yeah. So we're seeing these lulls through the winter now. They're becoming a little bit more dramatic. And I think that's going to continue for the next couple of years, where we're in this kind of cyclical market where it's taking a little bit of a dip during the winter, and then it's rebounding really, really fast in the spring, and they're becoming more dramatic. So the drops are becoming more, but then your rebounds are becoming more dramatic as well. So so we're still going up year over year.
Like overall.
Overall.
Yeah.
I can't tell you at what point we won't rebound from these as fast and as hard, which means the average sales price could start going down. Days on market and inventory will go up, and then we'll kind of transition more into a buyer's market.
Right now?
I'd say probably
overall
2 to 3 years, yeah. If these drops during the winter get worse, maybe the rebounds don't
rebound as
high and as fast, so we'll start kind of coming down a little bit. That's my prediction, but I think we got 2 years left where it's going to rebound hard. It's going to rebound fast. So as far as buying, I think your best buying time is by far the winter. You have a little bit more control.
Less competition.
As
in less competition as other offers.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. I remember multiple times.
Sales prices drop a bit. I mean, it's a good time to buy. And rates are extremely low.
I didn't no idea until the other day. That they're actually low threes. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I thought we weren't going to see under 4.
I didn't think it'd get back down here.
Which is insane to me, because people were, when I was in the business this last year, like people were harping about 4 and 4.5, like that was high. And I was like, what? But now I guess I understand. I mean,
but that's not high. That's still not high
at all.
We'll eventually get back to 5, 6s.
I think there's a statistic chart out there that will show you that the average over the last 15 years, I think, is 9.
Yeah, I believe that.
And like you say that, and people don't even say that.
Be crazy.
Yeah, 9%. There's times 16%.
Couldn't afford the house in the Portland metro.
Not right now. I guess it also alludes to like the lower home prices. So
yeah,
that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I think heading into spring, it'll bounce back pretty hard. I mean, we'll see. And the funny thing about the numbers is that, so like these are September numbers that I'm looking at right here, right? So we're halfway into October.
Yeah.
So we're 2-3 weeks delayed on the numbers. But these numbers tell us what really happened the prior month. Average time to close a house is about 30 days. So this activity was happening in August. It reflects in September numbers, and then we would get the report in October. So your downturn really starts kind of mid-August, goes through September, October, November, December. January is typically the lowest as far as average sales price, highest days on market, but that's a reflection of what happens in December. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to move around the holidays if they can avoid it.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're kind of delayed in that sense. So by the time we hit January, and I'm reporting those numbers in February, we're already back on the rise.
Yeah. Okay, I had no idea that it was taking, I guess, September's report would be.
Yeah, it's about 45 days delayed.
From the month before. That makes sense now, thinking about it. And it's as far as December being the low end of the year.
Yeah.
And then then February's report will show lows. Then.
I would say probably the majority of my listings we go on in January.
Just because like that's when things are going to start going.
That's when things start picking up.
That is true.
And then you don't miss the boat. You don't miss
the wave of.
Yeah, if you get too far into summer and list, it's definitely cooling down by then.
And too competitive, or it's just a lot of stress. So would you recommend if someone had their home on the market all this past summer and it didn't sell for some reason, would you recommend taking it off and just kind of like, all right, like
I don't know,
or keep it on?
I don't know. Case by case scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it depends on what their motivations and their goals are. And,
yeah.
I mean, I can't say for sure that we're going to rebound this next year, but judging by market trends and what I've seen over the last, since the crash, we're going to rebound, and we're going to rebound pretty damn fast.
Yeah. I guess, in the situation, if you need to get out, then no, you're not going to take out.
Plus, we're heading into election year, so that's...
I wonder what those statistics look like.
Yeah, and that's why I want to get a financial advisor on here, too, is to really talk about the market and the outlook on that end. Because, I mean, it's the same kind of stuff that the houses go through.
Yeah, and also it'd be interesting to see, like, this past election, what was the housing market doing then, and now can we predict what's going to happen this next election coming up. Is 2020? Starts in 2020?
Yeah, 2020.
That would be fun to look at. I'll probably look at that after we're done here.
Yeah.
Just to like see, because it's tendencies. The whole thing is tendencies.
Yeah.
Like what causes this thing to happen? Oh, it was an election year. All right. Well, we got another one coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just kind of thinking now it's more of like, now you can start tailoring marketing and strategies based off of not just a normal year, it's an election year. So what tendencies are people having during elections?
I don't think it'll affect houses that much. It'll affect the stock market big time, I think.
Yeah, it seems like it does.
Seems like it always does.
I think last year the stock market might have tanked.
It tanked at the beginginning of the year last year.
Yeah, because everyone was very worried.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're hitting record numbers.
It kind of always tanks at the beginning of the year, though. Like, but people... That's the thing. Like on the media, like they're already talking about like a housing bubble right now in the Portland metro, and that's, I would have to say from my research that we're not in a bubble.
I feel like that just those terms and like those scares are just because of what happened
right
in the crash.
Yeah,
because no one was talking about that then. I feel like, and now all of a sudden it's everyone's concern.
Everyone's concerned,
and I don't think it's gonna happen again. Because like we're so strict now. Yeah. For the most part.
The lending is pretty dang strict.
Yeah.
They're loosening up a little bit here and there on different types of programs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to get in for sure.
So I think it's going to be pretty stable, and I think they corrected their issues when it came to that whole world.
Definitely.
Hopefully.
No more stated income loans.
No more stated income. The rating agencies, 'cause that was the thing. The rating agencies, I don't know if a lot of people know about that, was a huge part of why these loans got through. As far as, because these loans have to be bought on, they have to be bought on Wall Street, because the loans are bought by investors. And things like that, but they're only bought if the rating agencies are saying they're AAA.
Oh, gotcha.
And so these rating agencies, though, are competing with other rating agencies. So if I'm a rating agency on this loan, I'm going to give it a AAA rating because I want them to buy my loan.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? And so that's what, and there was no what's it called? Supervision over it. They could just say stated income loan. They could say it was a friggin' AAA, boom. And throw it into this pool of loans that investors could buy. And those loans were actually bought thinking they're good, ended up being terrible.
Yeah.
Adjustment, ARM loans.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what caused the whole boom, was when everything started to adjust.
Imploded.
I didn't even know that was going on.
That won't happen again.
No way.
But yeah, thanks for being on here, John. I really appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to doing more work with you. I'm excited about this next video we have rolling out for my last client who just closed. And then also getting back into more listing videos coming up here pretty soon. So
it's going to be fun. I appreciate it. I'm excited.
So how can people find you?
You can just, my Instagram is I am Shaffer. So I am, and then SHAFFER. Envisioninc.com and VZNINC.com. But basically those are the main platforms there.
Awesome. And your big focus seems like your school and football videos. You do real estate videos, and then you have a plan coming up, right, to start helping more small businesses.
Yeah, the ultimate goal, my goal is, at the end of the day, is I want to give small businesses and realtors, young professionals, the same opportunities as a lot of the bigger businesses have in terms of their ability to create media and marketing content, because it is so inflated as far as how much it costs to do what I can do.
Oh, yeah.
With the current, I guess, big market, what's it called? The people that own the market right now.
Right.
And so I know that I can do the same quality of work for nearly half the price. And that's what I look forward to do, is just really just provide my services to help others.
Awesome.
And that's going to be the fun part.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to see that take off. I think there's going to be so many small businesses that can benefit from whether it's just creating commercials or just, creating content for their business.
And like learning how to do it for the most part. I think a big thing is that a lot of people, they try social media and the online thing, but they give it to like their nephew Sally because she's young.
Yeah.
She knows how to do it, or he knows how to do it, and they don't.
Right.
It's not fun. You got to be a little weird, nerded out over it. And that's how I am. I love looking at all the numbers on social media analytics and like why people are buying here, why people aren't buying here, and just tendencies.
Yeah.
As far as everything goes, I could have a whole podcast on realtors and tendencies and targeting and all that, and maybe we can do that.
Maybe we can.
We'll save that for another episode.
All right, man. Well, thanks for being on here again, and I'll catch you on the next episode.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for tuning in to the Real Talk Real Estate PDX podcast. Stay up to date on Portland real estate action by subscribing or follow along on Instagram at Real Talk Real Estate PDX. Any questions or comments about this episode or any real estate matter, feel free to reach me at dylan.pdxrealtor@gmail.com. Thanks again and have a great day.